Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob. The woman whose beauty and grace captivated his heart. Yet her life ended in such a tragic and heart-wrenching way. Have you ever wondered why Rachel, the very woman Jacob worked 14 long years to marry, met such a sorrowful end? Was it a curse? Was it God's punishment? Or does her story reveal something deeper, something that speaks to us even today? Let's uncover the mystery behind Rachel's death and discover the powerful lessons it holds about faith, choices, and God's sovereignty. The story of Rachel begins in Genesis 29, when Jacob, fleeing from his brother Esau, arrives in Paddan Aram. There, he meets Rachel, the daughter of Laban. From the moment Jacob lays eyes on her, it's as if time stops. The Bible says, Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. Genesis 29 verse 11. Jacob is so captivated by Rachel that he agrees to work 7 years for her hand in marriage. 7 years. But on the wedding night, Laban deceives him by giving him Leah instead. Can you imagine Jacob's heartbreak? Yet, Jacob's love for Rachel is so strong that he willingly works another 7 years just to marry her. Rachel was cherished, there's no doubt about that. But her story would soon take a darker, more sorrowful turn. Rachel's joy of being Jacob's wife was overshadowed by an intense struggle. She couldn't have children. In those times, a woman's worth was often tied to her ability to bear children. Rachel watched Leah, her sister and rival, give birth to child after child while she remained barren. Her pain must have been unbearable. Out of desperation, she cries out to Jacob, "Give me children, or I'll die." Genesis 30 verse 1. Her cry reveals the depth of her anguish. But it also shows how deeply her identity was tied to her circumstances. And, in her desperation, Rachel made choices that would have lasting spiritual consequences. When the time came for Jacob to leave Laban, Rachel did something shocking. She stole her father's household idols, perhaps as a way of clinging to her past or ensuring her future. Whatever her reasons, this act of deception brought dishonor and opened the door to spiritual complications. When Laban confronted Jacob about the stolen idols, Rachel lied to cover up her actions. She said she couldn't rise because she was on her period, all while the idols were hidden beneath her. This moment reveals something important. Rachel was caught in a spiritual battle, trusting in God versus clinging to worldly things. And sadly, her actions had consequences. At last, Rachel's prayers were answered. She gave birth to a son, Joseph. And oh, what a joy that must have been. She named him Joseph, saying, "God has taken away my disgrace." Genesis 30 verse 23. Joseph's birth was a moment of hope, a testimony to God's faithfulness. But Rachel's story doesn't end there. On their journey from Bethel, Rachel became pregnant again. This time, however, tragedy struck. As Rachel labored to give birth to her second son, the pain became unbearable. She was dying. With her final breaths, she named the child Ben-Oni, meaning, "son of my sorrow." But Jacob, perhaps out of faith or to honor her legacy, renamed him Benjamin, meaning, "son of my right hand." The Bible says, Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. Genesis 35 verse 19. Can you imagine Jacob's grief? The woman he worked so long to marry, the love of his life, was now gone. And as he buried her, it must have felt like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. Some see Rachel's death as a result of the spiritual baggage she carried, stealing the idols, clinging to worldly things, and deceiving her father. Others believe her death was part of God's sovereign plan to fulfill his purposes through Jacob's lineage. Whatever the case, Rachel's story is a reminder of this truth. While God is merciful, our choices have consequences. But even in the midst of sorrow, God's plans are always at work. Despite her tragic end, Rachel's legacy lives on. She became the mother of Joseph, the man who would save Israel during a great famine, and Benjamin, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Her story teaches us about faith, the consequences of sin, and the incredible hope of redemption. Rachel's life reminds us that even in the darkest moments, God is still weaving a story for His glory and our good. Rachel's life was filled with love, heartache, and hope. Her struggles with barrenness, her mistakes, and her tragic death all point to a greater narrative of God's grace and sovereignty. And just like Rachel, we all face moments of desperation, moments where our faith is tested. But through it all, God is faithful. If Rachel's story has touched your heart, share this message with someone who needs encouragement. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Bible stories that inspire, challenge, and bring us closer to God. Let's continue this journey of uncovering spiritual truths together.